Police are investigating after a woman fell to her death at Disneyland Saturday night.
Disneyland always welcomes families with open arms. Kids laugh, parents smile, and Mickey Mouse waves from every corner. It was 1955 when Walt Disney opened this magical place in Anaheim, California, calling it the happiest place on earth. Over 750 million visitors have walked through its gates since then, chasing fun and memories. However, not every story has ended with a smile. Some turned dark, really dark. A worker fell 60 feet to his death. A honeymooner never made it home. A teen drowned after a wild choice. These are heartbreaking moments that have stuck with the park forever. Today I will be telling you about the 15 most horrific deaths at Disneyland. These stories flip the magic upside down, showing a side most people never saw. And trust me, you won't look at those rides the same way again. Stick with me through all 15 because number 2 is a twist you won't see coming. Number 15. Disney worker falls 60 feet. Christopher Bowman loved his job. Back in 2003, this 36-year-old stage technician worked hard at Disney's California Adventure, a park next to Disneyland that opened just 2 years earlier. On April 22nd, he climbed a catwalk high above the Hyperion Theater. He was setting up a magic carpet prop for the Aladdin show, which was a big hit that drew 2,000 guests per performance. The catwalk sat 60 feet up, maybe 42 on some reports, but either way, it was a long drop. Something went wrong. Christopher fell. He hit the ground hard, cracking his head open. They rushed him to UCI Medical Center. For weeks, he stayed in a coma, 25 days total. On May 18th, he took his last breath. The investigation came fast. California's OSHA team checked it out and found Disney messed up. No proper platform. No safety harness that met standards. They slapped Disney with 2 fines. $18,000 for the unsafe setup and $350 more for missing gear. That's $18,350 total, pennies for a company pulling in $2 billion a year back then. His co-workers felt the loss deeply. One said it was like losing family. After that awful fall, the park kept buzzing with visitors. But another trip soon turned a happy day into a nightmare. Number 14. Honeymooner dies after Indiana Jones. Christina Moreno couldn't wait for her honeymoon. She was 23, newly married, and visiting from Barcelona, Spain. On June 25, 2000, she and her husband hit Disneyland. They picked the Indiana Jones adventure, a wild ride that opened in 1995 with a $100 million price tag. It jerked you around in a Jeep, dodging boulders and traps. Christina hopped on, excited. The ride finished, but she didn't feel right. A bad headache hit her hard. Back at their hotel, it got worse. They raced her to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. Doctors found a brain hemorrhage, a bleed inside her skull. She fought for 2 months, but passed away on September 1st. Her autopsy pointed to a cerebral aneurysm, a weak spot in a blood vessel that burst. Her family sued Disney, saying the ride's jolts, which was up to 2.5 G-forces, caused it. They'd logged 89 injuries on that ride before, like neck strains and dizziness. Disney said no way, that it was her condition, not the ride. Attorney Barry Novak, who'd won 2 similar cases, pushed hard. They settled out of court, an amount unknown. With that honeymoon cut short, you'd think the rides would be double-checked, but trouble was waiting just around the corner. Number 13. Woman dies after Space Mountain ride. Cheryl Ann Hoffman felt off that day. It was 1979, and this 31-year-old stepped onto Space Mountain, a roller coaster that blasted off in 1977. It zipped through the dark at 28 miles per hour, pulling 1.5 Gs. Cheryl rode it once and got sick.
Oh my gosh.
Really sick. Workers saw her struggling and told her to stay put. They'd pull her car off the track, but someone messed up. A mix-up in the control room sent her right back through, another full ride. When she rolled in the second time, she wasn't moving. She'd passed out. They got her to Palm Harbor Hospital fast, but she slipped into a coma. A week later, she was gone. Doctors found a heart tumor had shifted during the ride, cutting off blood to her brain. Her husband sued, saying Disney should have stopped the ride. The park fought back with signs warning people with health issues to skip it. No settlement details were released, but legal fees topped thousands. For some, the magic faded once her ride ended in tragedy, yet the park still had its share of reckless moments. Number 12. Drunk teen steals boat and drowns. Philip Strain turned 18 with a bang on June 17, 1983. This kid from Albuquerque, New Mexico, hit Disneyland for grad night. It was a big party for 5,000 seniors, and it was also his birthday. He and his buddies drank too much alcohol, way over the 0.08 limit. Late that night, Philip spotted a worker's boat near Tom Sawyer Island. A spot with rafts and trails since 1956, he thought it'd be funny to steal it. He climbed in, gunned it, and slammed into a rock in the Rivers of America, which is 700 feet of water around the island. The crash threw him in. He sank and drowned while his friends watched helplessly. Divers finally pulled him out, but it was too late. His mom sued Disney for $2 million, claiming no fences stopped him, but the court said no, it was Philip's choice, and not their fault. That wild boat theft left everyone stunned, but not long after, a simple step off a ride became deadly. Number 11. Elderly woman falls off. Exciting boat ride. Joanne Aguilar wanted a fun day. In August 2021, this 66-year-old rolled into Disneyland with her 2 daughters. She used a wheelchair, and the mobility was tough. They picked Jungle Cruise, a chill boat ride from 1955 with 1,500 riders a day. No accessible boat was ready, but workers said she could board the regular one with help. Her daughters got her on, and the ride went smoothly. Getting off the boat was a different story. Joanne stumbled and her daughters grabbed her, but she fell back into the boat as a snap went through her right femur. She hit St. Joseph Hospital, then a rehab center. Later, an infection crept in from the injury. By January 29, 2022, septic shock took her, like 5 months after that fall. Her family sued Disney, saying workers mocked her struggle and used shaky blocks instead of ramps. Disney denied it, claiming she chose the standard boat. The case still sits in court, asking for $5 million. Her fall shook the day's joy away, and soon a different adventure on the water took a dark turn. Number 10. Teen drowns while escaping. Tom Sawyer Island. Bogdan DeLoro got stuck on Tom Sawyer Island. It was June 1973, and this 18-year-old hid on Tom Sawyer Island with his 10-year-old brother after closing. The island, opened in 1956, had caves and docks, but no rafts ran late. They had dodged the last boat, maybe for fun, maybe by accident. Hours passed and they needed out. Bogdan decided they would swim the 300 feet back to shore. He put his little brother on his back. The water was shallow, about 5 feet max, but the extra weight dragged him down. Bogdan went under and didn't come up. His brother paddled to safety, yelling for help. Workers fished Bogdan out, but he had drowned, his lungs full and pulse gone. No lawsuit followed. It was just a sad, reckless night. After that desperate swim failed, the park's charm hid more dangers. even for those just along for the ride. Number 9. Quadriplegic man trapped and dies after ride. Jose Martinez rolled into Disneyland ready to relax. In 2009, this quadriplegic man, injured years before, went with his wife to Disneyland. They picked It's a Small World, which is a slow ride from 1966, moving 600 boats an hour. Jose couldn't move much below his neck. The ride broke down mid-trip as gears jammed and lights flickered. Everyone got off fast except Jose. He sat there stuck for 40 minutes while that song looped. 120 beats per minute over and over. His body couldn't take it. Autonomic dysreflexia kicked in, and blood pressure spiked to 200/110, risking a stroke. He survived the day but sued Disney. Judge James Selna ruled in 2012 that Disney didn't warn disabled guests enough. Jose got $888,000, half for pain and half for breaking disability laws. He passed later, tied to that stress. Being stuck turned fatal for him, but the park's tracks held their own surprises waiting to unfold. Number 8. Teen hit by Disneyland's Monorail. Thomas Guy Cleveland wanted in cheap. On June 17, 1966, this 19-year-old from Northridge skipped the $1.50 ticket, which is about $14 today. The monorail, which had been running since 1959, stretched 2.5 miles over the park. Thomas climbed a fence, hit the tracks, and started walking. He figured he could sneak right in. A guard yelled, "Get down!" Thomas didn't hear, or maybe didn't care. The train came fast, like 30 miles per hour. It hit him, dragged him 40 feet, and crushed his chest. He died on the spot. That was one of Disneyland's first deaths, just 11 years after opening. No cameras caught it. Guards relied on shouts back then. His family grieved, but no lawsuit stuck. That monorail crash was a shock, but a simple workday soon turned deadly. If you're finding these stories eye-opening so far, hit that like button and drop a comment with your thoughts. We'd love to hear what you think. Number 7. Worker dies in a golf cart crash. Bonnie Lear loved her job. On June 5, 2024, this 60-year-old from Fullerton worked at Disneyland's Club 33, which is a fancy spot in New Orleans Square. She rode in a golf cart's back seat near Critter Country, a ride topping 20 miles per hour. 3 others were with her when the cart hit a bump, or maybe a dip, and rocked hard. Bonnie grabbed the handrail, but it broke loose. She flew out, slammed into the ground, and cracked her skull. Her brain swelled fast. They rushed her to a hospital, but she passed 2 days later on June 7th. Anaheim police and Cal OSHA dug in, and Disney had to report it within 8 hours. Her team mourned as she had been there 24 years. Ken Potrock, the park president, called it heartbreaking. Her fall left everyone shaken, but the park's moving cars carried their own sad story. Number 6. Teen crushed while jumping between PeopleMover cars. Ricky Lee Yama loved Tomorrowland. On August 11, 1967, this 17-year-old rode on the PeopleMover, a new ride from July of that year. It was 2 miles of slow tracks, 3 miles per hour. He sat with friends, laughing, then he got bold. He jumped from his car to theirs in a dark tunnel, which was about a 4-foot gap. Then he slipped and hit the tracks. Another car rolled over him, dragging him 200 feet. He didn't make it, as he had a broken spine and his heart stopped working. It wasn't the only time such an incident had happened. In 1980, Gerardo Gonzalez, 18, tried the same stunt on grad night. Same tunnel, same fall, same end, crushed at 1 a.m. The ride shut down in 1995. Crushed between cars, his story lingered, and soon a quiet dock became a scene of chaos. Number 5. Guest killed by flying metal cleat. Luan Faye Dawson planned a Christmas treat. On December 24, 1998, this Microsoft engineer took his family to Disneyland. They lined up for the sailing ship Columbia, which is a 110-foot boat from 1958 circling the rivers of America. It held 300 guests per trip. As it docked, a rope stayed tied. A rookie worker didn't check it. The ship pulled forward and it snapped. A metal cleat tore loose. Flying 20 feet, it smashed Luan's head. His wife and a worker got hit too, but Luan took the worst as it led to brain trauma. He died 2 days later on December 26th at Western Medical Center. His kids saw it all. Disney paid $25 million to settle, admitting fault. They retrained their staff after that. That flying cleat changed everything, but the rails ahead were set for a bigger disaster. Number 4. Big Thunder Mountain crash kills a guest. Marcelo Torres loved the Wild West vibe. On September 5, 2003, this 22-year-old climbed the Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, a coaster from 1979, hitting 35 miles per hour. He sat up front with a friend. The train took off, rattling through tunnels, and then it broke. 2 bolts that were missed in a check jammed the axle. The locomotive nosedived, crashing into the ceiling. Marcelo's car crumpled, his ribs shattered, his lung torn, blood pouring out, so he didn't survive. 10 others got hurt, with cuts, bruises, and 1 broken arm. The ride's 13th run that day went wrong because workers skipped a step. Disney settled for millions, the amount hushed. State rules tightened, resulting in daily checks and signed logs. The crash took his life, and just when you'd think it couldn't get worse, a kid's ride turned grim. Number 3. Boy got crushed under Roger Rabbit ride. Brandon Zucker turned 4 with a grin. On September 22, 2000, his family hit Disneyland for his mom Victoria's 40th birthday. They rode Roger Rabbit's Cartoon Spin, which opened in 1994 in Toontown. Brandon sat near the edge, the lap bar loose, and the seat was wrong. He reached down, maybe for a shoe, and fell. The car dragged him 10 feet, then pinned him. He stopped breathing, meaning he had cardiac arrest. Brain damage set in after 10 minutes. Doctors induced a coma for 34 days. He lived 9 more years, unable to walk or talk, dying on January 26, 2009 at 13. Disney paid $20 to $30 million in 2002, adding sensors to cars after. Pinned under that car, his fight ended years later, but the mountain slope still had a story to tell. Number 2. Woman falls and dies on Matterhorn. Regina Young craved a thrill. On May 17, 1984, this 48-year-old from Fremont, California, rode the Matterhorn bobsleds, Disneyland's first coaster. Built in 1959 for $1.5 million. She sat alone in the back. Her seatbelt wasn't clicked, and nobody checked. The sled hit 27 miles per hour, twisting through the mountain. She slid out. She landed on the track. Another sled smashed into her, with her neck snapped and her chest crushed. She died instantly. Workers found her after a search, and the ride stopped for hours. Her family sued for $5 million, saying staff skipped safety steps. Disney claimed she unbuckled it. The case settled quietly. Over 5 million rode it yearly, but hers was the second death there. Her fall on the bobsleds left a mark, and behind the scenes, a worker's day took a horrifying twist. Number 1. Disney hostess crushed by rotating wall. Deborah Gale Stone bubbled with excitement. In 1974, this 18-year-old fresh from Santa Ana High started working at Disneyland. She worked America Sing, a new show from June 29th with 6 spinning stages and 350 seats filled nightly. On July 8th, just 9 days in, she greeted guests near the rotating walls, a big, heavy wall, moving at 2 miles per hour. She stepped too close. The walls caught her, crushing her between them.
especially, no flash photography here in our theater.
Her ribs caved and her lungs collapsed. Guests heard her scream. Some thought it was the show. Workers stopped it after 45 seconds, which was too late. She was gone. Disney added lights and breakaway panels after and reopened it in 3 days. Her parents got a small payout, under $10,000. The show ran till 1988. Disneyland has seen it all over the years. So what hit you hardest? Which story shocked you most? Have you ever had a close call at a park yourself? Drop it in the comments, as I'd love to hear. If you found this video eye-opening, hit the like button and subscribe for more stories like this. Also, check out our next video. It's a good one. Thanks for watching and stay safe out there.